Sage Babalola on the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to today's edition of the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. It's the third day in the month of September. It's actually my first time on air for the Morning Express for this particular month. Welcome to the month of September. It's been 3 days, but then I guess Happy New Month is still in order. So Happy New Month to you and yours, and thank you for coming along with us on this journey as we kickstart the month of September. Looking forward to everything that it would bring. Well, this is Trends in the Papers. Basically, would be analyzing the headlines that have been captured in the news, from local happenings to global events. Whatever the case may be, we intend to unpack the implications of these stories, also highlight key insights, and also explore how these things resonate with our community and our polity as a whole. So for Trends in the Papers, we would be reviewing our dailies, take a closer look at the recent developments in our country and concerning issues that affects every single person, including you and I. Well, aside from looking at these stories, we intend to expand the conversation by means of analysis, which Fuad Said would be doing the minute we connect with him virtually for conversations this morning. Once again, welcome to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, a segment of the Morning Express where we look through the papers, have conversations about the top stories, and then we have conversations about how these stories affect us, and also, most importantly, get your perspective on these stories. Well, we are the affected ones, and it's only right that we hear your opinion or give you an opportunity to express how you feel regarding this latest developments. Well, Fuad Said now joins us virtually as we kickstart conversation for Trends in the Papers. My name is Sage Babalola. Don't forget that we're streaming the program live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can join us via social media at Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't forget we're also on Radio Garden. You can listen to us whether you're in transit. Mainland 98.3 FM is also how you find us on Radio Garden. Fuad, good morning to you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, good morning, Sage. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Very good.
All right. I guess we can kickstart conversations then. We're going to look at the Punch newspaper as an opener for today's dialogue during Trends in the Papers. This particular story is not necessarily the top story on the front page of the Punch, I beg your pardon. But then again, it is a very significant story, and it is a developing story. And I'm referring to the arraignment of the 10 protesters, 9 of which have been remanded in Kuje prison, and one of them, who is a female who claims to be pregnant, has been remanded in Suleja prison. But the most interesting part is the Briton, the one who is being accused of attempting to overthrow the government, who currently, during an interview yesterday, have denied all allegations. He says he's been here for 25 years or thereabout. He has a bookstore in the building of the NLC, and he had no idea he was even wanted. There's a 20 million naira bounty on his head, and he recently only realized that was happening. In fact, his wife, who joined the interview, says that there's just one particular individual that owes him money and decided to use this to discredit the Briton, so he doesn't have to pay the money that is owed. That is the justification for all of the mess that have happened since then. So, Fuad, there has been outrage regarding the arraignment and the remand of these 10 individuals. People are saying, are we not allowed to exercise our fundamental human rights of protest? The allegations are too severe. Treasonable felony is the accusation. What is the correspondence between protesting and treason? And also, Fuad, what is your reaction on the explanation that has been offered by the British national that was declared wanted, Andrew Wine? That's his name.
Well, Sage, interesting times ahead, really. Again, you have about 100 protesters or more who are still being held by the police. Yeah. Only 10 of them were presented in court yesterday. And like you rightly pointed out from the report, 9 of them have been remanded in Kuje prison. I think the case was adjourned to September 9 or so. One of them, the female, pregnant, was kept in a different prison, probably because of Suleja prison. I think they have a better facility to deal with a pregnant detainee, I assume. But the issue here is this. Again, they are being charged for treason, an attempt to overthrow the government, insurrection, weighty allegations. Say. And if you look at the Nigerian Constitution, say, the punishment for treason is clear. It's led by hanging. That's the punishment for treason. So again, we need to ask ourselves, the protests that happened, the hashtag end bad governance protest, the hashtag end hunger protest, from which some of these protesters were picked up, detained, and now presented before the court, has a lot of implications really for the kind of democracy we run. One of the implications would be the attitude of the government to dissenting voices. Another implication would be, going forward, what is going to be the attitude of the government to an attempt to speak truth to power. And then the last one will be, going forward, what will be the attitude of the government on the rights of the people to protest against what they think are policies of government bringing untold hardship to them or they don't even like. A lot really to unpack from what we are witnessing. Remember that when the president addressed the nation, just when the protest was ongoing, Professor Wole Soyinka, who is, of course, one of the friends of the president, also issued a statement saying that, look, that presidential address was disappointing. And one of the things he mentioned, said, if you remember, was the high-handedness of the police to the protesters. In a democracy, we run a constitutional democracy, and one is we expect that we should run a democracy following the rule of law, of which one of the enshrined rights of Nigerians is the right to peaceful protest. How the protests eventually became violent to the point that they were looting and that resulted into killing is another conversation entirely, because we can begin to point fingers in different directions. There are people who have accused the police. There are people who have accused the government of sponsoring people that eventually turned the whole thing violent. So many allegations. But the beautiful thing about a constitutional democracy is, he who alleges must what? Must prove. So if the police is bringing this weighty allegation against these protesters, the beautiful thing is that they have their day in court. Again, there are also applications for bail already that has been put forward. There will also be the question of if an offense like treason, as they are being charged, is bailable. You understand? But we are not new to things like this. I'm sure we will not forget in a hurry what Comrade Omoyele had to go through for years. Look at how the case eventually ended, because it was almost the same thing. He was being charged for treason, insurrection, encouraging public disobedience, anarchy. And at the end of the day, the prosecution for years, they got to the junction that he could not travel out. He stayed in Nigeria for years. At some point, they restricted his movement. And at the end of the day, they cut out to set him free because the prosecution was not forthcoming. He who alleges must what? Must prove. I'm still going to come to Andrew Wine, the Briton that is being accused. But it's important that we sort out this issue of this protester that has been held and been charged for treason. But again, we all saw every attempt by the government and the security operatives before, during the protest, before the protest and during the protest, to do everything to demonize the idea of a peaceful protest. Strangely, in a democracy, in a constitutional democracy. At some point, even the IG of police had said that, look, the situation of the country, they had enough intelligence report that it was going to become problematic. And at some point, he even said that, look, even if it was a peaceful protest, it was ill time. That should tell you something. If the police was telling you at that time that, look, even if this would be a peaceful protest. The timing is even wrong, and we are not going to tolerate it. So that should tell you the mind of the government. And we saw all of the efforts, the different groups that came up, traditional rulers, the concerted efforts. It was clear that the government did not even want the protest, even if it was going to remain peaceful. So there are people who are saying that what we are now seeing again is a post-protest attempt to now say, look, don't try it again. If you try this, we're going to put you through. Remember, Professor Oleykan said something very instructive. And I think that's a message I think the president should have taken in good faith. Worked on it and understand that, look, there's a legacy to these things. Professor Oleykan used the word. People cannot be demanding for bread and you give them what to say.
Stone.
You give them bullet. People cannot be demanding for what? Bread. And what do you give them? You give them what? Bullet. Figuratively speaking, what he's saying is that, look, people are hungry. That is just the reality. Address that issue of hunger. Deny or affirm it. If people are not hungry, tell us why you think that people are not hungry. And if you have now accepted that people are hungry, what you should do is to begin to tell the people what you are doing to take them out of hunger that has led to the anger that led to the protest in the first place. But all of these attempts to want to silence dissenting opinion, intimidate people, couch people, there's a risk to it, say. And one would have thought that our leaders would have learned a whole lot of lessons as to how people are driven into the trenches, how people are driven on the ground when they were shut up, when they were gagged, harassed. Because if you don't allow people to ventilate their anger, if you don't allow people to come up to speak truth to power, what they will do is to continue to bottle their silence and go on the ground, which is even more dangerous to the state than when people come out to protest and talk to the government. I am telling you, and I'm saying with all sense of responsibility, that it is even better for people to speak truth to power, come out and protest in the open, than being harassed in this way, intimidated in this way, to the point where they begin to look at the options of going underground. And what do you get if you have that kind of situation? They're going to have an implosion. So, again, this is a case in court, so we'll see how the police is able to prove this case against these protesters. You understand?
Yeah.
So, I leave it at that. On the issue of Mr. Andrew Wine, I was almost going to say Bobby Wine. I think there's a decision called Bobby Wine.
Yes. I think he's
Well,
dead.
but this is
drug overdose or something.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So this is Mr. Andrew Wine, the Briton, who said that, look, because what the police have told us, we were the job, have told us severally that this story of a foreign mercenary who has been running, monies in billions of naira to coordinate sleeper cells in different parts of the country, basically to topple the government, this particular government. That's the allegation. And I think we can tie that to how the president of the NLC was invited for questioning.
Yes.
Because it's now been revealed that this person rented an apartment, a bookshop or an office at the NLC secretariat, running a bookshop. I think he also owns a school, lives in Abuja, and he's been declared wanted. A 20 million bounty put on his head, only for the man again to address the press yesterday somewhere in the UK, saying that, look, I don't even know I'm wanted. Nobody reached out to me. I only got this on the pages of the newspaper and the media that, look, I'm a fugitive, I'm wanted, and I'm shocked. And what he has said is that, look, I'll be willing to go to the Nigerian embassy to meet with our officials to answer questions. I assume that he feels it's not too safe for him to come here. And he's also talked about maybe a Zoom questioning session. And I think this is a guy who would not mind. I tried to read his mind, but for him to have been able to come out to speak to the press means that this is a guy who is not going to go into hiding. Because if he's demanding for a Zoom interview, if he's willing to go to the Nigerian embassy to answer questions, I'm sure he knows that it will be recorded. So if he's that willing to open up to the Nigerian authorities, then we need to ask ourselves again, to what extent do we have things on these guys to really prove that indeed he was running a network of sleeper cells to overthrow the government. Again, that will be left for the police to prove, Sage. You understand what I'm saying? Apart from the fact that the wife has come out to say that, yes, there was somebody who was owing them money, is using the police to harass and intimidate them. He doesn't want to pay the money and all of that. But I think that the Nigerian police should tread softly and be more discreet about this particular issue. Of course, we run the constitutional democracy, so he who alleges must prove in all of these cases. But whatever happens, Sage, there are strong things, there are strong implications, there are a lot of things that comes to mind, again, as to the state of our democracy. I'm hoping we'll eventually get it right.
Right. Well, declaring a person wanted would mean that there is no means to contact such individual. But
that's what the man is saying. He didn't even reach out to me.
Apparently, Andrew Wine has been very much available in the UK. He's been there. And then imagine just flipping through the pages or looking through the media and seeing your pictures.
He said he's lived in Nigeria for 25 years. I think about 9 years. Yeah, 9 years ago, he married the Nigerian wife.
So,
but again, when you look at the issue of espionage, say, you must understand again that when it comes to things like this, deep state international politics, you have people. I'm not saying that's what Mr. Andrew Wine is, but of course you cannot dismiss all of the allegations of the police,
right?
Because people who run things like this, who run a form of espionage,
they're very quiet and they slip their way.
They just integrate into your society. They run normal businesses. They could even marry your citizens, and they do what they need to do. Some of them are foreign mercenaries. Some of them are just mercenaries for some groups of people or business interests. So whatever that is, actually, it will be left for the police really to prove these allegations against Mr. Andrew Wine. The option of him maybe attending to police questioning through Zoom is on the table, or probably, of course, visiting the Nigerian embassy to also take questions and answers. But whatever that is, it's still about the state of our democracy and, how we're hopefully going to get it right going forward.
All right, then I will follow the court proceedings as the paper report them. Best believe we would have those conversations on radio. Well, that's that about that particular story. It's actually being carried by the papers, and I wanted us to open with that because just like Fuad said, democracy is being tested, and we also, most importantly, are testing the power of the law in a democratic society. So let's see what happens at the end of the day. This is still trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We are reviewing the papers. We're looking at the Punch newspaper specifically, but we have the Guardian and the Vanguard newspaper. Be reminded, we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. There's a live chat option there for you to react to each story in real time as we go through the stories this morning. Well, the top story on the front page of the Punch is PDP governors Wike may clash as National Working Committee meets on Wednesday. The riders to the story: NEC pressures National Working Committee to hand over Rivers PDP to Fubara. PDP governors will address ministers' threat at meeting, says Forum DG. The story goes further to say, barring last-minute changes, the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, may be heading for a showdown as the party's National Working Committee meets on Wednesday. Governance in Rivers State has been partially affected for months due to the ongoing political conflict between Wike and Siminalayi Fubara, the governor, both of whom are PDP members. And this feud has caused a split within the State House of Assembly, with a faction led by Martin Amewole supporting Wike, while the other faction, led by Victor Oko-Jumbo, is loyal to Fubara. There's no need for me to continue to read verbatim forward. I think we're all very well abreast of the political crisis within the PDP. So the National Working Committee is going to meet on Wednesdays, and now all fingers are crossed, with some predicting that it might be a showdown. There might be a problem at the National Working Committee, especially with the attendance of Wike and the statements that he made a few days ago that has been interpreted as threats to the other PDP governors, and they're demanding that he lets go of the operations of the state and allow the governor to focus. Fuad, what kind of expectations do you have of that meeting, and what consequences do you think might trail that meeting that many are predicting would end in a deadlock?
Well, it all depends on what the leadership of the party wants for themselves. We are just journalists observing and reporting these things, and of course probably just trying to make a meaning, out of what is happening in what is currently the largest opposition political party in Nigeria. It used to be the largest political party in Africa. That was the claim. But I don't know how that works again, you know. It is a party that now has two committees.
Yes.
There's a Tʀᴇɪᴅs disciplinary committee. And then you have the led reconciliation committee of the PDP. But you know, people have always been asking the question: do you first discipline before you think of reconciliation, or you? Because can you actually reconcile without taking care of the problem? Because again, there are people who are saying that is the PDP issue about reconciliation or just merely a discipline issue, just whip people back to line. And for those that don't want to come back to line, push them out of the line completely. You understand what I'm saying? Eliminate them from the party. Don't let them go. If they want to be whipped back to line, bring them back to line so that they can focus on, you know, the ambitions of the party and going forward. But if they refuse to come back to line, let them go. So there are people who have said that, look, the problem of the PTB is not really about reconciliation. It's more about being able to wield the big stick, whip these guys back to line. If they refuse to come back to line, push them off completely and let them go to where they want to go to. So, but again, the leadership of the party is a bit chaotic now because, again, you have the acting national chairman and some ESCO members who are reportedly loyal to Yᴏᴜᴛᴜജ, a man that requires immediate discipline by leadership of the party. And then you also have some of the governors who recently had issued a communique after meeting in Taraba to declare loyalty for the current governor of Rivers State, which is the major bone of contention for weekend apart from other issues, saying that, look, Mr. Governor, you are not going to leave the PDP, talking about Fubara now, the 13 PDP governors, unanimously, saying that, look, we stand with Fubara. In fact, one of the things they are talking about now is to ensure that the leadership of the party, Rivers State, is handed over to the governor. And on that premise, you had a Wiki who already came up with a congress in the state. Of course, that will be factionalized because I'm sure that the governor too can actually have his own congress. Because the PDP in Rivers State has two factions now. Only for him to come and begin to issue threats. We all listened to it. We talked on it on Political Roundtable on Sunday, where practically said that I will throw fire to your different states if you don't leave Rivers State alone, for me to continue to destabilize it where I'm destabilizing it. Because there's nothing he's doing other than destabilizing governors in Rivers State. So what he has told the PT governor to start clear, Rivers State belongs to me. I own it. I paid for it. I bought it somewhere. It's my personal property. I invested in a governor. It turned out to be a bad business. But don't come. I'm licking my wounds. But I'm not going to allow the state to rest. The governor will not rest. Governors will suffer. That's the message he's constantly giving to the people of Rivers State. And so for those who are thinking of coming to help, a governor who has been on the lone battle against an emperor, quote and unquote, in the name of a supposed godfather, and now also getting threats that, look, you think it's only Rivers State that can destabilize? Because that's the message. I can also destabilize your state. I have the capacity. But the question is, who is this man? Who the hell is this guy that has the capacity to threaten 13 other governors to the point where on TV is able to tell them that, look, I'm going to throw fire into your different states. And we accept that statement. The DSS has not called him for questioning. The police has not called him for questioning. A man that has told other governors that I have the power to throw fire and chaos and confusion into your state to the extent that you will not even sleep or sit in your state to face governance. That's the democracy we run. That is the democracy we run. So it's left on the meeting on Wednesday. If they like they've been doing, they should continue to deceive themselves, welcome themselves, sit down, keep a straight face as if all is well, which is what they've been doing. It is left for the party. We are going to take the story, but we are worried. I'm worried as a Nigerian. I'm worried as an ordinary journalist. I'm worried that the democracy some of us took tear gas for during the military regime is now in the hands of civilians who are almost behaving worse than the military in their actions, character, and statement. So this is the democracy we fought for. This is democracy we took Koboko for in the streets of Lagos, protesting against the military. Only for us to now have people who come and become an emperor, behave in this manner, threaten people, allow governors not to rest, allow the state not to rest, and we are condoning it, we are rationalizing it, justifying it. Is that the democracy we fought for? God help Nigeria, please.
Well, Fuad, in a related story, right, we have the coalition of united political parties that have continued to berate this particular administration. And we also have, for example, the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Ibrahim Abdullahi, who in a recent interview also said that it was the loss, in a manner of speaking, of Peter Obi and Kwankwaso by the PDP that caused them to lose the election. He claims that if they still had somebody like Peter Obi and Kwankwaso within the PDP, they probably would not have seen this kind of retrogression in the party, and chances are they would have made significant headway, more headway than we saw in the last election. And this sort of insinuates that they probably are making attempts to woo Peter Obi and Kwankwaso back into the PDP. This plan, Fuad, do you think that there are certain individuals whose influence in the party might cause them to regain the credibility that they have lost because of this impasse currently going on within the party?
Well, I'm surprised that the CUPP and then some leadership, some members of the PDP are just realizing the damage that was done to the PDP's chances of winning that last election with the exit of Peter Obi from the party, of course, taking over the Labour Party ticket and structure, and also Kwankwaso. Because again, if you aggregate all of the votes of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and Kwankwaso, it would have been a very easy victory for whoever stood against the APC at that time, because it's just very clear that it have been done and dusted easily. They would have been able to take the 25 states that was needed, get the simple majority. And I remember that for years, for months, I don't know whether I still has it on his handle. The current Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, pinned it on his ex-handle that, look, after this election, he was talking about the 2023 election, you will know how Peter Obi, Kwankwaso, and the rest, helped Ashwaju to win the election. You can't balkanize your party in that way. We analyzed it. It was going to be extremely difficult to defeat the APC with Atiku standing alone, Peter Obi standing alone, Kwankwaso not really, but at least Kwankwaso also standing alone. Whether you like it or not, what could have been a collection of votes to defeat the APC was torn apart. It was impacted. Because at the end of the day, it was about calculation. You need to look at your strength, look at the calculation. Basically, how do you win as president? Simple majority, and then take to third, right? Of the 24 states was the FCT. So at the end of the day, it was about the calculations, and I remember at that time, I said that, look, this was going to make it easy maybe not easy, but it was going to create the path for the APC to win. Actually, Bola Ahmed Tinubu to win. So now that they have realized, I think it's not even going to be more difficult to bring these guys back into the PDP. I don't know whether there's going to be a coalition. Well, the APC did the same thing in 2015, 2014, 2015. Abi? You had the NPDP, you had the people from the Buhari's party, the AC at that time all coming together, and of course they were able to defeat the PDP. Is the PDP ready to do all of that? Bring Atiku to the table, bring Obi to the table, bring Kwankwaso to the table. But the question is this: would these political figures be selfless enough to want to work together? All of these three individuals want to become president.
Right.
In fact, these three individuals already see themselves as having the political, capacity to run and become president without any form of coalition. So the question is, how do you bring them together? Who is going to step down for who now? Is Atiku ready to give it to Peter Obi to run? Would he be working for Kwankwaso? Remember that there was a time in the last election where it was said that the Labour Party and the NM people were going to work together, only for Kwankwaso to come out and say that, look,
Peter Obi would have to be his running mate.
He said he's a bigger politician too, right. Peter Obi, now that he was a two-time governor, I was a minister, and that on what basis would I be stepping down for Peter Obi? But at the end of the day, And like other political pundits have said, it will require a strong coalition, whether anybody likes it or not, to defeat the APC in 2027. Right. If they're able to do that, whether they'll be able to do that, we'll have to wait to see.
All right, then. That story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Moving away from party politics or party struggles and talking about national issues. Fuad, this particular headline here, NNPCL may stop petrol import as staple price nears 1,000 naira to a litre. Now, the pump price of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, may rise above 1,000 naira per litre in filling stations, as the cost of the commodity in some private depot has been increased to between 920 and 950 naira to a litre. This comes as protesters hit the street of Abuja on Monday, demanding the immediate dismissal of the group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, Mele Kyari, over the lingering fuel scarcity in the country. Fuad, a few days ago, we had the NNPCL finally admitting that they are neck deep in debt after weeks of denying the fact that they owe some of their oil market suppliers. I beg your pardon. Thank you so very much. Owe their suppliers. Well, in light of that new information, it would seem that there might be some sort of pausation when it comes to importation of the product, and with the supply that we currently have on ground, hoarding is expected, which would cause the price to go as high as 1,000 naira to a litre as the pump price. And of course, you would expect that for black market, it will go as high as 1,500, 1,700 to a litre. So the woes of Nigerians when it comes to accessing PMS may continue for a very long time.
Well, Sage, I told Sandra yesterday, Okutasi, I said, it's not the essay now, the whole body is out.
Oh, put more sand on the body because I cannot see this one. What? I cannot see this one. Please. My chest is, I cannot see this one.
We've lived with too many lies, in the operations of the Nigerian oil sector. And as it is now, we have to now deal with this bitter truth that our almighty NNPCL have now been run aground, basically. Because again, if you have a situation where there's no liquidity, you are owing your suppliers to the point of $6.8 billion. As good as saying that, look, the shenanigans we've seen in the operations of the NNPC, the opacity, the opaqueness, and every other thing that we've seen with the NNPCL now means that, look, the company has been run aground. I think the only thing left for the NNPC will be its assets and the fact that, look, we are still able to explore crude oil and with forward sale agreements. Apart from that, if there's going to be a book that you are going to, a classic case would have to be the NNPCL. So where are we now, Saints? Whether we like it or not, there's no money. The September last year.
Yeah.
And the rule of engagement is if you are not able to pay. And this is not even 90 days debt. It's more than 90 days. It's a month that we have not been able to pay. So all of the lies of under recovery, we are meeting up our costs, and all of those things they've been telling us there's no subsidy, there's subsidy, weighted average rate, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is where we. It's all boo-boo, yeah. It's just whining us. So now they've eventually admitted, just 2 weeks ago, their spokesperson, you know the way they write their press statement, I told Sandra yesterday, our attention has been drawn to a statement somewhere. Ordinarily, you would not have responded. Have you not seen statements like that?
Yes.
Just 2 weeks ago, they came out denying newspaper reports that they were owing their suppliers $6.8 billion. Only for them, some 2 or 3 days ago, to now say, yes, we are owing, we don't even have money to pay and import the products again. Because the suppliers are saying, give us our money, we'll give you products. Do you know now the irony, see? If you read the papers today, I was just smiling when I was reading the papers earlier in the morning. The NNPCL is now looking on to Dangote to rescue them. And I now see people who are now celebrating, the same Dangote stage that you castigated, that was so, he was just looking for monopoly. His product is not even good. They went as far as saying that his product is even inferior.
Yeah.
It is now the same Dangote the NNPCL is talking to now to say, okay, give us your product, we'll buy. Because they need a rescue. You know, say, if I've been coming to you to borrow money, I'll get to a point where I'm no longer credit worthy.
Yeah.
I can't come again to borrow. So the next thing is to go and meet Sandra. Because Motitella was it. So the suppliers have said, nothing for you, we give us our money. So they have now seen Dangote as the Messiah. Same Dangote refinery that you could not supply with crude. You are still dilly-dally dancing around the supply of crude in Naira to him. You set up a committee that's giving all manner of timelines. And that's why Dangote has told you. Remember the last time when some marketer said, oh, you're going to sell in this price. What did he say? Shut up. You can't get entitled to my product. I'll give you the official statement when my product will be ready and how much I'm going to sell it. And they've also issued another information now that we must pay attention to. The refinery is saying that, look, yes, my PMS is ready for sale. If you guys cannot buy at my price, I sell it outside the country.
I was about to read you that story.
Let the story say. We just add it to it. What the refinery telling us now?
The Vice President, Oil and Gas of the Dangote Refinery, Edwin DVK, has said that the product would be available. We've started since the start of this month. But then if we sell to you at the price that is beneficial to us, if you're unable to buy the product, we would send it out of the country the way we have continued to do with Jet A1, diesel, and all other petroleum products. So, they're not beholden to us at all. If you cannot buy at my price, I'll take it out of the country like I've been doing other petroleum products. End of story.
See, I told you about us not getting entitled to anything from Dangote for now.
Right.
Okay, well, what basis are we going to be entitled to anything that will come from that refinery? We started out by not fulfilling our obligation and promises to take 20% from that refinery. We stood at 7.2%, only for the NNPCL to ridiculously come and tell us that the reason why that failed was because the remaining $1.7 billion was invested in CNG. Say, it's another lie. What was the initial agreement for the 20%? It was not even supposed to be money. Say,
crude.
They were supposed to be $1 billion in cash, which they did, to take the 7.2%. The rest was supposed to be a supply of food.
Yes.
So, how does that excuse of, oh, we didn't do it because we invested the money in CNG? It was supposed to be cool. So where did you get the money to invest in CNG that amounted to $1.7 billion? If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
These are guys who just wake up every day. They keep telling lies. They think Nigerians are stupid. We have no brains. We just suck it in. The last time military was telling us I wanted to declare war on crude oil. Later he told us that when the right time comes, he will tell us the truth. Lies upon lies after lies. They keep lying to Nigerians. And because they know that we are very docile people, we're not going to ask questions. There's not going to be any reaction. Look, the Minister of State for Petroleum recently was also saying that, again, of course, trying to justify the need that we might have to pay more. That, because of the so-called subsidy, he didn't want to call it subsidy they're doing, people are still smuggling the product out of the country. How is that supposed to be our problem, as ordinary Nigerians? So the government has failed to the point where they cannot stop smuggling of this product. So for every failure of government, the ordinary people have to pay and suffer change. So again, because I've seen people saying, international market price, we are an oil producing nation for God's sake. And we're supposed to get the benefit of that God-given resources. We are Nigerians. We are not from Benin Republic. We are not from Togo. There's a reason why God gave us crude oil. So what is the benefit? How do we compare ourselves now, with people in Saudi Arabia? In fact, when it comes to what we have been able to do with crude oil, we cannot even compare ourselves with Angola. Angola now, taking the advantage of proper structure in the oil sector, has been able to pay its Chinese debt. They are able to make a lot of dollars now from sale of crude oil, refine locally to take care of their local needs, to the point where they are not able to firm up their currency. So look at our own story. Put our own story with other oil-producing nations of the world, and you understand that, look, it is completely ridiculous. It's unbelievable. An oil-producing nation says go out there and see the suffering Nigerians are going through because of the inefficiency, the corruption of these guys.
What?
A lot of them overfed, overpaid, overrated, overhyped, only for them to come up and every day give us these excuses. It's unbelievable, really.
Right. Fuad, we might need to move from that story very briefly as we're running out of time, but that is the current reality of the oil sector. Page 2 and page 19 has both the initial story and the corresponding story of Dangote Refinery saying, if you cannot buy my product, I will take it out of the country. And chances are the product will become rarer, scarce, and more expensive in the coming days.
Just 1 minute. We are going to have to pay through our nose now.
And queue for long hours.
Because the figures the papers are reporting means that, look, the official price, because whether we like it or not, we've not deregulated anything. We are still fixing price. Since the NNPCL is still the only one that has the capacity to bring in this product. The forex crisis also a factor. So what we are saying is that the official price of, I think, 585, 600 is going to move to close to 1,000 naira.
Yes.
Already in the other areas, in the independent market, people are already selling at 950. 1,000 in some places, in fact, in some parts of the country, 1,200.
Yeah.
So it now means that, look, for the major marketer, you probably will be getting all these big stations at about 1,000 naira per liter.
Yes.
For the smaller stations, we should be ready to do 1,300, 1,500 naira per liter.
Yes.
How will Nigerians survive this one?
A question we don't
With
have.
this one, we are struggling. Cost of transportation, cost of food, change, trouble ahead. This is not sounding alarmist. Nigerians should brace up.
Page 2 and page 19 is where you find the story. Moving on, we have hospital, tertiary institution. Electricity subsidy may go up 188 billion naira. If you remember, a few weeks ago, we had that the federal government intends to offer like a 50% subsidy to hospitals, tertiary institutions, a select few. And now they're giving us a report that the cumulative sum of money that would be required to exercise this subsidy that has been promised to them would be as high as 188 billion naira, which of course will cause a strain to our finances. But do you think it is worth the trouble that this might cause us, the 50% subsidy, electricity subsidy to these institutions, and we might have to suffer a 188 billion naira financial strain?
That money will still go up, because corruption will come in again. For every subsidy regime, corruption goes into it. And of course, the government will tell you they don't have the capacity to fight corruption in the system. So we are also going to have a lot of trouble managing this so-called partial subsidy for public health institutions and our public universities. And that's what we are saying. That look, if you look at every other thing we are talking about now, the high prices of food, services, it goes back to the issue of subsidy on petrol. Petrol affects everybody,
yes,
whether you like it or not. And that's why people are saying that wouldn't it have been better for us to manage the subsidy regime on petroleum products, fight the corruption in the system, fight smuggling, fix all of the problems that made subsidy a problem. Even though subsidy itself is not the problem, but the way we've been running the subsidy regime. But now look at where we are now. We said subsidy on petroleum products was not sustainable. We have run ourselves into deep crisis with high cost of food, products, and services. We are now talking about subsidy in other areas now. And in those other areas, we probably will also run into trouble running the subsidy regime in those sectors. So it's all scattered. And the reason why you are going to be in this kind of mess, in simple policy development strategy, is when you don't have a plan. You go into a policy without any plan to mitigate the effect of your policy. So probably you don't even understand what the project is before coming up with a solution. And that's why I've said that sometimes people come up with solutions that create bigger problems than the problem they are trying to solve. That's the classic case of the way we remove subsidy, as was done a year ago.
Thank you. Well, that is on page 19. 188 billion naira would be expended for the 50% electricity subsidy that has been promised to hospitals and tertiary institutions in the country. It's on page 19. Well, arrested Canada-based Nigerian woman threatening Yorubas risk 2-year jail. I highlighted also a few weeks ago that there was a particular woman who online threatened to poison Yoruba and Benin individuals that work with her. Well, she has been arrested, and at this time, of course, she would be tried. If found guilty, her immigration status will be revoked, and she also risks a 2-year jail term. But she has been arrested. Obviously, she would have her day in court, but then we're being told that the implication, if she's found guilty, is 2-year jail term, and her immigration status might be revoked, so she might be deported back to Nigeria. That's the update on that particular story.
Very, very good one, say. I like how swiftly the Nigerian government reacted to this threat of genocide. against an ethnic group by this so-called woman who states, and the Canadian law is very clear to read the report.
Yes.
Do anything like that, stand a 2-year jail term, and the immigration status can be revoked. She could even face deportation. So I like that. But say, for those that are also threatening other ethnic groups in Lagos, what did we do? We were all living witnesses to people threatening Igbos, threatening people of other ethnic groups not to go back to your state. So the standard must be the same. See, it must be the same standard. I actually like the fact that during the protest, when some people were also threatening some ethnic groups, the governor of Lagos came out to condemn it.
Yes.
I like that. But when it comes to also going after people who do that, who brazenly go on air to make such statements, we should also see some people arrested and having their day in court to start as deterrence to others who may be thinking about it. The law of the country says, look, you can't do business, reside anywhere in the country so far you respect the rules of the place. So what I'm saying is simple. Very, very simple, Sage. Yes, we like this. It should serve as, some form of caution to people who want to do the same thing. You can't burn the nation down, whatever sentiments you have in your head. Threatening other people, people should go and kill some people. But we should also ensure that people who do that to other tribes, we should not be the Yorubas or Benin alone. To do that to other tribes as a Yoruba person too, they should take care of you as a common criminal.
Well, it's on page 4 and page 5 of the Punch newspaper. We have here, external debt servicing rises to $2.78 billion, according to a CBN report. So what our debt servicing, not debt repayment, servicing has gone up to $2.78 billion at this time. Our total debt is around 121 trillion. So we're spending 2.78 billion servicing debt, and this is a report by the CBN. Good luck to all of us, really. May the Lord be with us. That's all I can say. It's on page 20 of the Punch newspaper, and for page 28, we have President Tinubu meets Xi Jinping today, signs bilateral agreement. So the president is in China. He's going to meet with the president today. They're going to sign agreement talking about economic cohesion, security, and well, we never can tell. They're meeting. They might talk about that during their.
No, you should talk about it too. It's our asset now.
That's all we have for the Punch newspaper. Allow me, in the 2 minutes we have left, to glean through the Guardian newspaper. The top story being sit at home, insecurity, secessionist agitation, deep foreign direct investment and trade in the southeast state. So the report is basically highlighting that so far from August of 2021, 148 Mondays, people have been forced to stay in their homes. And now we have prospective investors who are looking at the southeast as bad business because of the insecurity and the sit at home that has been imposed in that particular region, and so investment has continued to dwindle. It's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here fuel scarcity, sack Kyari now, coalition demands. That's the CUPP. It's on page 3. We also have here PDP says Wike is not above party as disciplinary committee issues summons. It's on page 6. Okay, and on page 15 we have household lament may spend 54.9% income on food, shun investment. Who would invest when they're hungry? We're spending the bulk of our resources on food. I don't think there's anybody constantly thinking of investing at this time. But then
it's to survive the period.
That's what we have for the Guardian.
The investors are even people that have invested already are struggling to keep their investment going. So people just want to eat.
Right. Well, that's all the stories we have for you this morning on Trends in the Papers. We're due for a break. We'll be back in about 10 minutes, 8:40 for Mainland Focus. This is where I take your submissions. We'll get Fuad's opinion as well, and then we take your contributions regarding the select stories from the many that we address during Trends in the Papers. My name is Sage Babalola. This is still Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be back, like I said, in a few minutes to continue conversations. Don't go anywhere.